Hello and welcome to Recruiting and Retaining a Strong Core series. Today we're going to be talking about tracking and analysis. So what is the purpose of tracking and analyzing your information? Tracking who applies to your program and some of their demographics and tracking where they are in the process will help you follow up with candidates. It will help you see where candidates are falling off if they decide not to move forward with your program. It will help you identify how quickly you are responding, and it will also help you identify trends in the type of candidates that you are recruiting and from which platforms. This will also help you improve your methods of outreach in future program years. I have placed a sample applicant tracker in Basecamp, and this is a snapshot of kind of what it looks like, but you can track the number of candidates or the candidate of where they came from. Do they come from Handshake or Facebook? The quality of candidate that they are. And you can also use color coding to identify where they are in the process. I know that I like to say if we are not moving forward with them, we put them in orange. If they have been offered a position, we put them in blue. And we put in a different cell the date that all of these are occurring. We also put in the outreach, the outreach date that we try to reach out to them and the outreach method. Was it email? Was it phone? Was it in person? And any specific notes about each candidate. If you are not into updating Excel sheets manually, which can be quite time consuming, there are some other great options such as Google Forms, Bitly. Bitly is good if you have multiple staff members who will be going in and editing. Greenhouse, Lever, Zoho, Salesforce, and HubSpot. A lot of these you'll have to pay for a subscription, but like Google Forms, you will not. Once you have collected all of the data from your candidates saying this person applied on this date and they were accepted, not accepted, you can go ahead and review what worked and what didn't. So I like to use trackers to evaluate some of my demographics. I also like to export all of my information into heat maps or some sort of a pivot table, so I can say, most of our candidates came from this, part of the state. Or graphs are really helpful to say, 70% of our candidates applied using LinkedIn. So that kind of information can help you as you say, well, we have the diversity that we need, so we'll keep going with, putting more efforts into LinkedIn next year. Or we're not really getting the quality of candidates that we want. Let's try using a different method. I would also recommend that you use an exit survey to improve your future programming. An exit survey could be something as simple as a survey monkey that goes out to your members once they exit and ask what they liked about the program, what they didn't. It can be bubbles that they fill in, or it can be typed up word answers. Qualitative data can be a little bit more difficult to analyze, but sometimes can give you a better perspective. Make sure to reach out to your current members and ask them what keeps them going. If you have some members that left early, maybe reach out to them and ask if there is something that you could have improved upon. Keeping members throughout the year. Retention has been a struggle for a lot of programs throughout the pandemic, so making sure that you are engaging your members, including them when you are creating your policies and procedures is going to be key. Valuing and celebrating your members is also going to be a huge component of this. But the first thing you're going to want to do is provide ongoing training. This includes pre-service trainings, so invite them to the office, follow-up emails to them after they've accepted the position, or give them a call, keep them engaged. You want to help them maybe through the portal or the background checks, or provide them the webinar series on how to apply for state benefits. Maybe you even go so far as to have a pre-service like get together with all of the members. During orientation, make sure your host sites have a checklist and have the member and the host site supervisor participate in your orientation training, and have the host site supervisor and the member sign off on the orientation checklist once they get to their site, so that you know that the host site is providing a nice welcome for your members. During mid-year, I would highly encourage you to get your group together, whether that be via Zoom or in person, and provide some diversity and inclusion trainings or some cultural awareness trainings, in addition to any of the programmatic trainings that you maybe need to do. Include games and trivia in all of these trainings, and provide incentives for your members to engage and listen. I would encourage you to set up a mentorship program. So encourage your members to find a mentor or meet with somebody at their host site regularly. Maybe shadow them for a little bit so they get a better understanding of what that person does as a post-secondary option for after service. This also helps provide supportive communities within organizations, which also leads to higher retention. I would require a capstone project where members are required to reflect on their service. Once members tend to get toward the end of their service, they're rushing to get out for whatever is next. If they take the time to sit down and reflect, write it down, and submit something, they may be able to identify more with why they decided to serve in the first place. Try to gauge fulfillment among your members throughout the year. Are you providing them the right perks or incentives to motivate them? Show them with graphs or charts how their service is improving their community. I know sometimes when you're in the daily grind, it's really hard to feel like you're making any kind of an improvement, and it's not necessarily going to happen in one day, but if you can show them results over a period of time of how they've made an impact, that can really help people stay as well. Reiterate that they're gaining experience and skills. Some other members might be sustained by a community involvement and seeing those tangible impacts. So use pictures from the beginning of their service to where they are now. You might also want to facilitate cross-group collaboration, so set up a committee for planning days of service and encourage members to take ownership of their service and the success of their projects. I would also encourage you to meet with your members as a large group, maybe monthly, to provide some sort of a speaker or trainer to keep them gaining new skills throughout their program year that maybe they can add to their resume. Really invest time in your reviews. Mid-year reviews and end-of-year reviews are incredibly important. Sit down and actually meet with the member. Go over what their site supervisor said, what you have said. Give them options for improvement. Don't just say, they were perfect, they met all of the expectations, here you go, good job, keep it up. Like, most members want to know how that they can improve, how they can take their skills to their next position or their next service year. So always offer some way for them to improve, but also make sure that you're not too hard on them unless there is some sort of disciplinary issue. Offer words of encouragement. Celebrate some milestones. Celebrate the members who go above and beyond, that they perform something that is incredibly mission driven. Maybe you do Member Mondays or Members of the Month. That's a good way to do something. Or send out an email to all of staff and say, hey, this person did X, Y, and Z. And it's a good way to have members be recognized for some of their efforts. And finally, maybe you want to help with housing or some other incentives. You provide them a huge list of affordable housing in the area, or you maybe work with an apartment complex through the HUD process or MISHDA. Maybe you provide financial incentives for returning members, or during the mid-year. If you make it to mid-year, you get $500. If you make it to the very end, you get $1,000. Something like that. You try to build that into your budget, or even consider using ARP funds for that. Finally, using tracking and analysis can lead to programmatic improvements, and it can lead to higher retention rates. So I would encourage you to review the AmeriCorps Recruitment Resource Guide and any of the recruitment resources on Basecamp.